In life, we have moments of time to tell people how much we value them. When we don't tell them, we sort of miss opportunities. I try, in my life, to tell people when I appreciate them. My father was very loving and kind. My late father was very generous with his wealth that he accumulated by making smart decisions. It wasn't that he was a multi-million-dollar mind, it's that he just knew how to do investing and trust the right people. He always chose good quality people to invest his stock certificates from his company, and they did well in a period of time when he still had a house. In that period of time, he also let us know that he lost $1 million in the stock market. Now that was a lot back then. It's probably still a lot today. None of that belongs to me, of course, but it taught me something about life. That life is about planning for the future and planning for retirement. But more importantly, it's about planning for who you're going to spend that time with. What is life going to be like? Will it be an adventure? Will it be a passionate opportunity? Will it be a doldrum? Will it be a chore? Will it be an illness after illness to tend? You never know, because when we ask a person to marry us, we're literally saying in sickness and in health, and for richer or poorer. In my life, I have lived through some challenges, for sure. In college, we had tight funds, that's for sure. We both worked a little, and we handled our money based on how we did things. In Japan, I lived frugally. I didn't make the big salaries that other people from other countries and other situations did, but I still was able to produce a life and get increases in salary when I did well. And eventually, I timed out on the prospect of being there. It just wasn't my life anymore. But I did come home to America, and I longed for people that I met when I was there. So I produced a life through the laws of the land and did everything correctly. After that, I lost my partner. She went on to other things, and it was a long haul of a long period of time. I don't have to tell you how many years we were together, because it's not really your business. But what I know is how to keep a relationship alive for a long period of time. I know the ups and the downs of being in a relationship. I know what I have to do to produce a life for a family, and I know how to provide for them. When I met the woman of my dreams, it was late in life, much later, and it came off of a prayer that I sort of talked about in a previous audio cast, and I'm not going to talk more about it because I do talk about it pretty clearly in the book that I wrote called Soul Keepers, The Soul Strings of Our Lives. I'm pretty sure that copy has been destroyed now by the law enforcement officers that took me into jail illegally, immorally, and frankly, in violation of the law with regard to mental health and everything else, but they did it on the whim of a female judge. I don't have to tell you every detail of my life, but I have been harmed by them many times. They've put me into financial hock, they've destroyed property, they've stolen things, and when I went into jail this last time, they told me that I would get my 2 bags of property back. In those bags were Social Security cards, bank cards, birth certificates, multiple copies for preparation of my marriage, information on my life insurance policy, heirlooms from my father, special Netsuke Japanese art for my life, special religious items, all of my pendulums practically, and my 10 religious necklaces, my leather cuff that has a special religious meaning, my rings and wedding rings for my proposal, and openly a lot of other things, including 2 red shirts for performance and presentations, and a pair of crazy angel fully plaid wings. That angel wings all down the back. They're by a company called Notorious, if I remember correctly, and I openly know they're a couple $100 pair of jeans fresh at the store. I was received those things from the Lord in a different manner, but they're now missing. Other things were in there, my belt, and other private matters, I'm sure. My 24 thumb drives of intellectual property were also in there, but the person in the bailiff who took me in, an officer that I don't always remember the name of at this time, literally didn't do her job. She gave me a paper that just said 2 duffels. Things were not itemized. And when I talked to the officers about this, I gave a list to a Lieutenant Lacus, and I almost gave one to the Major Blankton, who was somewhat kind and just checked in on me from time to time to make sure I was okay. When I got moved about from my solitary confinement cell, for whatever reason, the girl, Megan Andrews, decided to put me there for the long haul of 3 months. But at the same time, I got moved around to sit and observe some of the officers on duty. It was sort of a horrible experience, but I don't need to go into those details right now. What I'm telling you is that when I talked to one of my recreation officers, a Joshua Roberts, I believe was his last name, that he literally told me that it was very possible that my property could be stolen. And lo and behold, when I tried to go pick up my property bags after asking for my private journal and my religious books that I had just purchased from a store there in the community to read during the time of incarceration, he told me that it was very possible things would be stolen. So like I said, lo and behold, when I went to go pick up my bags, they were not where they were supposed to be. And I literally just lost it. I said, you know what? I'm going to be traveling. If they're so safe and secure here, then why aren't they here? The woman who handled my situation barely looked for any ID, didn't look at my stuff at all, but I had religious things in there out the wazoo. Everything in my life is about spirit, faith, and religion. And I have a list of everything that was in there. But the belt buckle for my father, my hat from Japan from my son, my Harley Davidson collector hat, and other things are now missing, completely gone. I had other personal items in there, of course, like underwear and a few items like that, and the list goes on. But the things of my life, the things of my religious faith, were most important to me, and some of them you cannot replace. Most everything I own is one of a kind. Now the noise of the people who like to pry in on people's lives and be rude and interrupt an audiocast are starting to show up, so I can't talk much longer. But there's always some monster who wants to walk around and act like they have rights to another person's life. The problem is that the force takes things. If you go to a county situation where you need to go to court, they make you walk through metal detectors. That makes sense. The problem is there are things that they don't allow you to take in, allegedly according to judges' rules, but the problem is there's no place that they collect those for you in a lockup to allow you to receive them or take them back. They expect you to go out of the situation as if you planned that extra time, give them to someone, or leave them outside in hopes that someone won't pilfer them. There should be a locker that people can put their possessions in right there on the courthouse, so that if there's a problem with something going in, people can lock away their property and pick it up later. I mean, after all, aren't the police supposed to protect our fundamental federal rights of we have right to our personhood, paperwork, and property? But openly, that didn't really happen. I was constantly being barraged with people plying me for something is not true, that they left me alone for the most part. And thankfully, I wrote some letters to some religious places with the help of the in-house chaplain named Addie, and she helped me by giving me addresses. I wrote letters, used my own money on stamps, and sent things off with a sergeant. I don't even think he was a sergeant. He was a civilian of some kind, a Mr. Rogers. I literally got a pretty good response rate marketing-wise from the places I wrote to, but I can't say whether or not other books continued to come to me at my name at that place or not. What was unusual is that for some reason, my lawful mail from a Noblesville post office started coming to the jail. I never allowed anyone to pretend to be me in identity theft and say that I was living now at the jail. What a bunch of bullshit that is. But openly, that was Marion County. When I had my car impounded, many things were stolen from me. Knives were stolen, special camping spoon and fork sets were stolen, and much of my pendulums and jewelry that I had put together were literally pulled apart, reassembled, and almost destroyed. All of the promotional literature that was put in there to promote them, that I spent hours putting together, got stolen, and it just became an absolute joke that law enforcement thought that they had the right to pilfer through every single package or box I had and literally ruin almost everything I possessed. This is a part of my story. It's difficult to talk about. I have no regard for them is pretty true. I don't trust them is almost true. I like the military, Marines in particular. They are men of honor. My father was lieutenant and a colonel in the Air Force, so he taught me to regard rank. I always